Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to spend some time in the garden just doing a little bit of odds and ends, some basic maintenance. I have got a Rose of Sharon that I want to plant. I need to trim back my Baptisia and my Amsonia. And then, I know it's late, hey, but better late than never, we're going to go fertilize and compost the hydrangeas that are planted underneath the crepe myrtles. Here we are approaching mid-late July in North Carolina, zone 7B. It is quite warm, it is toasty. We are standing here, the cottage garden is right behind me. You can see that. The cottage garden does need some maintenance. If I had gotten out here earlier this morning, I could have tackled some of those things. I will show you that, what needs to be done. But you know, gardening is a year-round sport, activity, hobby, and there's always something to be done in the garden. Even in the dead of summer, when it is hot and sticky, there are things to do that you can be out there. Maybe you just have to choose your time a little wisely, early in the morning, late in the evening. So we are going to, like I said, we're going to plant another Rose of Sharon right here on what I call Hydrangea Hill. And doesn't Hydrangea Hill look quite lovely? Down here at the bottom, we have got little limes planted. There are 5 of them, and they are really coming in to full bloom, looking just wonderful and lovely. These have been here for, I believe it's 4 years, and they are doing great. Little limes, of course, are that cross between a creamy white and a lime color of a bloom. They are panicles. They love it hot. They love the sun. They bloom on new growth. I can trim them and they will do great every year. So we've got little limes. Just the other week we were here and we planted 5 of the Summerific Edge of Night perennial hibiscus, and you can see that they are growing very nicely. This one little small plant, and they are small, but that's okay. I knew that this year they're gonna grow. Right here, I've got 3 buds, and then on this branch, I have got 4 buds. So they are gonna be showing me some signs of life and bloom, well, not signs of life, obviously they're alive. Some blooms here really quickly, and then at the top of Hydrangea Hill is Firelight, and Firelight is another panicle hydrangea, loves the sun, nice and big, comparable to a Limelight in their size. The difference with Firelight and Limelight is that Firelight will reliably turn a rosy mauve color for us. You can see that some of them are already starting to put on those hues, and that's a big deal for us in the South with our hot, humid nights. Limelights will not turn pink. They will just go from creamy to limey to brown. It's nothing that we're doing, it's just our nights don't get cool and they can't handle it. Firelights, however, do really well for us, and that is why I do love them so much. So Hydrangea Hill, coming along great and doing really well. Back here behind me on the edge of Hydrangea Hill, last year we planted 3 of the Roses of Sharon. So we have got the 1, the 2, and the 3 back here. This one was the smallest one last year. She has put on lots of new growth. If you can see that kind of that bright foliage, that is new growth. They're happy. They've got buds all over them. But when Spring Meadow was kind and generous enough to send me shrubs this spring, I got another of the Parpaloos. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick it kind of in about right here. So we will have a group of 4 all together. That way, as they grow and develop, they will just have this big, huge presence in the garden and be gorgeous. I will have to add some irrigation to that, so I've got my tools for that. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get that planted, and then I'm gonna show you how you can trim your Baptisia and your Amsonia. By this time of the season, they get a little wild and woolly and start to get kind of floppy. You can prune them and they will do fantastic. So I'm gonna show you how easy it is to do that once we get this baby in the ground. Okay, so here we go. I have got the Paraplu Pink Ink, be number 4. They will get about 5 to 8 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet wide. When these 4 grow, I want them to look like one massive shrub. So I have put them 4 of my feet apart on center. So that will be a good kind of consistent measurement. I have, there's an irrigation line running right beside of me. Once I get the hole auged and get this in the ground, then I will go ahead and hook up the irrigation to it. So got my hole. This is a 1-gallon shrub. I've got my power planter auger with just the 5-inch heavy duty tip on it. I find that for me is a little easier than the 9-inch, especially when I'm doing a smaller container like this. It'll work out perfect. So we're gonna get the hole auged, biotone in there, and then the shrub into the hole. When you're planting on a hill, no matter if it's a perennial or a shrub or a tree, there are a little bit of challenges because you're on a slope. So one end of the plant is going to have a different soil level than the other side. So what you want to do is you want the high side, so up the hill, to be even with the native soil. So you want your shrub, its root ball, to be even with the native soil, and then in the front your root ball is going to be sticking out, depends on the grade of your land. You can bring soil back up to that. It's okay if the root ball is sticking up just a little bit because there's plenty of the root ball in the ground. So just bring your soil back up around to it. You don't want to put too much native soil on top of your root ball. You got to let those roots be able to breathe. So Miss Pink Ink is in the ground, nice and happy. And then we're going to come right over here, and my irrigation line, and this is quite steep of a hill, so Jenny's just going to sit on her bottom. So the irrigation line is just right here. This is the black main irrigation line. There are not any holes in this black line. So I went over to the nursery. Jerry told me we had some over there. These are the tubes that we use for the hanging baskets. So this is the emitter here on the end. I will punch my hole. It will go into the main irrigation line. And then on the end, this is simply just a weight, because when we have the hanging baskets, we need that to have that weight on there so they don't just blow out of the hanging baskets. It works really nicely with shrubs too, because it still gives some anchor to it. So we will simply use our little hole punch for the irrigation. It just goes in. It's very, very simple. So just know where your hole goes. And I had the irrigation on this morning, so there's going to be water in the line. And then you just take your emitter, punch it in like that, bring it over, and look at that. That's like the perfect length right here. So I have my emitter and the weight right here at the base of the Rose of Sharon. So I will just dig this. I think an ant just crawled across the camera screen. If you saw something, that was an ant run across the lens. I'm gonna pull back my mulch, bury this, and so that way it's invisible and you don't see this irrigation line. That 4th pink ink is now in the ground, and it is going to be so much fun to watch this area grow and develop between the 4 Roses of Sharon and then the 5 Edge of Night hibiscus. I always think gardening, when I'm gardening like this with shrubs and perennials and those kinds of things, I always think long term. I think, what is it going to look like in 4 years? Now, yes, right now there is an obvious size difference between those 4 Roses of Sharon. Does it bother me? No. It really doesn't. So we've got these 3 that have been here almost a year now, and then Sweet Thing back here will grow and develop and just be gorgeous. So we're going to have in this area will be shades of whites and pinks and creams, and then of course the dark foliage here of the edge of night. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch grow and develop. Now what we're going to do is we are going to turn our attention to these crazy out of control, well, they're not out of control, they're just very happy. We have the lemon meringue baptisia right here, and then we have the Amsonia right here. We're going to prune them. I have 2 more companion pieces on the other side that are in the shade. So my friends, we are going to go film in the shade first, and then once I show you exactly what I'm going to do to them, then I'll come over here to the sun and get those done like that. So Jenny doesn't have to be in the sun for too long because it's a little toasty. The Lord is blessing us with a nice breeze this morning, so I'm not going to complain, but I am going to work smarter and quickly and move with a purpose. Here you're gonna see, we're right here on the edge of these giant loropetalums. Brenna loves when I come and work here because she goes and hides in the shade, and so she's down there cooling off. But what I have is just a native Amsonia. I love this because it is just a fantastic perennial that, other than what I'm doing right now, that's the only maintenance that's required on it. Japanese beetles don't like to eat on it. Bugs don't like to eat on it. It is an early spring bloomer with these really soft sky blue, like star blooms on it. So the plant is just like glowing when it is blooming, and it is a native plant, so we always love that. The pollinators do enjoy it, and every year your mound just gets bigger. They are growing, but what happens is this time of year their foliage gets kind of I guess floppy would be the word for it, but it starts to lay down on the other plants. So like my penstemon here, my daylily, I just need to tidy it up. So when, like other plants, like a coleus, when you take the top out of it, it gets more dense and thicker and more less floppy, right? And so the same thing with my baptisia back here in the corner. That is a lemon meringue, and it has really opened up. I think maybe because it gets a little bit more shade than the other one. It is considered a full sun plant, and it does do well. It just takes it a hot minute for the sun to get over because of these loropetalums. So we're going to go in there and trim up those as well. I'm going to cut them back really no more than half. You don't want to like cut these to the ground. That's not that kind of trim. We're going to trim them up anywhere from a half to a third of the total plant size. Give it a nice shape. I would recommend that you wear gloves, especially if you have very sensitive skin, because both of these, I'm pretty sure the baptisia does it as well. Maybe not. The Amsonia definitely does. It has a very kind of a milky sap to it, and for some people that have sensitive skin, it could make your skin itch. So either if you have sensitive skin, wear your gloves, long sleeves. I'm not affected by it. You know me, I just have to wear my gloves. So I have my handy dandy Stihl electric trimmer. Those of you that are going to ask, this is the Stihl HSA 66. Jerry got this for me a couple of years ago. I love it because it is battery operated, and I pop in a new battery and it just goes. You don't have to worry about anything. It just goes boom, there you go. Don't have to worry about cranking it and gasoline and oil and blah 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 blah. Just makes it easy. So we're gonna show you this one and then get everybody else done. So you can see by trimming that how much it opened up the space. This Golden Dreams coleus can now get thicker and fill out and be very happy. This is the kind of stuff though that I was talking about, that the maintenance needs to be done. Like I need to come in here and deadhead my my daylilies, my sunflowers, trim up the coleus a little bit, just give everybody a little once over and tidy them up to keep them going through the season. So now what we're going to do is the baptisia, and that'll be just exactly the same. Trim it up. You don't have to be precise about it, just shape it. Pretty soon it'll flush back out and do great. couldn't handle it. I had to trim it. All right, so I'm up here at the Baptisia, and this one, it went a little more severe than probably, not that I intended, but because it had splayed open so much, and when I took it out, it left a lot of the stalks. So you can see that even though I didn't trim it back, you know, a huge amount, all the foliage was on the tip of those stems, and so you can see kind of what it looks like. Yeah, it's looking a little rough, but probably should have done this earlier in the season. It's all right, but you can see what it had done to my guara. So I had 3 guara plants right here. One's definitely alive because it's doing great, but it was smothering it, and because the Baptisia was laying all on top of here, so sun could not get in to these 2 plants, and then a lot of up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do right now, even though I wasn't planning on it, I'm gonna go ahead and trim these guaras back pretty severe. I'm gonna go ahead and take them back to about maybe 6 inches off the ground, and hopefully they will be able to rebound and flush back out and do very happy. But this is why it's important to come in here and do that maintenance on these guys, so that as certain plants start to outgrow their space, or just, you know, I won't say a bully plant because it's certainly not a bully plant, but I may need to look at maybe next year digging these guaras up. If they don't come back, maybe that'll be a good thing, and because that'll give some more room to grow. But as your perennial garden grows from year to year, you're either going to have to thin out, or you're going to have to move, you're going to have to divide, those kinds of things. So to think that a perennial garden is maintenance free is not true. I mean, that's just misinformation. There definitely is still maintenance with your perennial garden. It's just a different kind of maintenance than, say, a bed that has tons of annuals in it. So I'm going to cut this guara back, and then I'm going to go trim the other 2, and then we're going to try to find some shade with those hydrangeas underneath the crepe myrtles. The Baptisia is all pruned up. It at this point in the season, y'all, it's called It Is What It Is. Come here, Bee. Come on. And the Baptisia is pruned up. The Amsonia is pruned. All right, Brenna. Brenna wants to be right beside of me. Y'all don't want to hear her panting. I didn't obviously do the Amsonia as severe because it is a tighter plant anyway, full sun. So there you go, it is doing great. Now, when you do that, you reveal weeds that are popping up. This is I don't know what technically it is, but it is a pain in the tush. It is some sort of, I don't know if it's like a tree type thing, but anytime you prune it, then it just sends up like 5 suckers, 5 more shoots. And then you've got a mess. And I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've already got 7 of these in this bed just right here because they'll send out runners and shoot some stuff up. I don't want this taken over my flower bed. If I were to try to dig it up, then I'm going to run into all my roots of my perennials. I told you this trick when I was pruning the Sonic Red Weigela down there. So what you do is find a comfortable spot here, get your pruners, and then you're going to prune it down to the ground as far as you can and get lots of good fresh cuts on all of that foliage. And then take your herbicide of whatever choice that you prefer and do not dilute it. Use a little paintbrush, dab off your paintbrush so it doesn't drip, and you're only going to paint those little cuts where you just cut off that foliage. So you're not coming in here and broadcast spreading, or spraying an herbicide in your flower bed, because odds are that's not going to work out very well for you. And it's extremely targeted. It goes, because it's a fresh cut, it goes straight to the root and it will kill it and it will not come back. So that is one safe, responsible, easy way to get rid of weeds that you just can't pull because the taproot is so long and extensive, or you've got suckers from another plant coming up in the middle of another plant that you just cannot dig up. I only use this on rare occasion, but when you need it, and it certainly does save your garden. So I'm going to get the rest of these done, and then we're going to move down to the crepe myrtles and get those hydrangeas fertilized and compost. All right, my friends, so all of the sun work is done, and I'm glad because it's just a little bit before noon, and yeah, it's a little toasty out there. So Brenna and I are happy to be in the shade. In fact, I haven't gotten out of the Polaris yet. I figured we could just chit chat right here. Here we are in front of the house, and you will see we're underneath the crepe myrtles that we just pruned last week. About this time last year, I planted 5 or 6, I don't know, 4 to 6, I'll count in a minute, hydrangeas, and these are golden penny hydrangeas. Golden penny is a big leaf macrophylla hydrangea that is for really the warm southern climates. It is hardy in zones 7 to 9. It will get to be about 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. Of course, with it being that big leaf hydrangea, the flower blooms will be based on your soil's pH level. So ours will be in that blue to purple range. Planted them last year this time. You know me, my goal was just keep them alive, and I did not fertilize them this winter, spring. I didn't compost them, really have done nothing. They have been just completely neglected, and they really haven't grown very much as far as like in size. This bed is not on irrigation, so the only water that it gets is if it rains or when I'm filling up the bird bath. Then I have been trying to really make a point to shoot them with some water so that they can have a little bit of a better chance at growing, blooming, and thriving here in the bed. So what we're going to do today is to fertilize them and then put land and seed around them. That way it will really give them a good shot of food. And I'm doing the land and seed as opposed to the Fafford compost because I think this land and seed will hold more water content around them, which is what they need in this really kind of a dry, it was dry shade. It's a little bit more sunny now that we have got the crepe myrtles limbed up. But what's so great about the Penny Macs is they have this most amazing, beautiful foliage color. They can do full sun to full shade. And so when it says in the cooler climates it needs more sun, since this is to zone 7 and 9, that means that is me. So these definitely need more sun, and they just turn this vibrant, like chartreuse green, almost like a yellow look. Beautiful color contrast here, so I really want these to do well. If you're in a zone 9, maybe you need a little bit more, say, morning sun up till lunchtime and then shade in the afternoon. So without further ado, we're going to get in here and get everybody fertilized with rose tone, because rose tone is a great fertilizer for your hydrangeas. Typically, you only fertilize your hydrangeas once a year, so this will be my once a year. And then the compost, of course, will be a great, like I said, blanket, hold the water, and then just as it breaks down, it too will feed the hydrangeas. Alrighty, my friends, this morning's chores have been checked off the list. This time of year, we're doing just a lot of maintenance, right? We're just going out when you can, when the weather allows, and just getting a couple of things checked off your list that maybe need to be done. So all of these golden pennies are nice and fertilized, composted, and then well watered. Now you will notice that when I was watering these, I just had the hose. I did not have a wand on it. This hose is linked directly to our well, and so it's a little rustic around here. And so I don't have a wand on it, and if I just did straight the hose, it would wash all my compost away. So I kind of kinked the hose a little bit in order to slow the water pressure down a bit, and then use my thumb over the hose to kind of make that spray. Now, whenever we water, I always tell you, your goal is not to hit the foliage, but to go for the roots. Because of my watering situation, my foliage clearly got lots of water on it, right? But here we are at lunchtime. It is a breezy, sunny day. That foliage is going to dry really fast. I don't make a practice of that every time I water these. But they are going to dry, so they will do just fine. You don't want to do that like right before night, because then all night your leaves are going to sit there and they're going to be really wet, and then you can get funguses and promote funguses. And when you're already in a hot and humid environment, you don't want to add more water, you know, if you have to. So they are in, and let me show you the foliage on them, because you will be able to see that they do have some nice new foliage, really pretty. Yes, you will notice that there are spots. We do get a natural fungus around here. It's from the maple trees, get it also. It just makes it look unsightly. I could have prevented this with a fungicide. I didn't, sorry, maybe next year. But you can look at that beautiful foliage, and the more sun it gets, the brighter the yellow it's going to be. And just those traditional beautiful mop head blooms on it, for us they will be that blue to purple. Just absolutely gorgeous. I hope I get some blooms this year by doing the fertilizer and the compost, and then I'll just have to make sure that I keep these watered, because this is a very dry bed with the crepe myrtles and the hibiscus. It probably would not hurt if we could put this on irrigation, but right now it is what it is. So when I come out here and fill up my bird bath for my sweet little feathered friends, I shoot them with a shot of water, and hopefully we'll get lots of good growth and some blooms this year. As always, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all your love and support of this channel and all that we do here at Creekside Nursery. I hope you have been inspired, you've learned something, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm gonna go stick my face in a bowl of ice water. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.